Russia issued a chilling warning as it ramped up military production while declaring that it was preparing for a potential war with NATO and at the same time fighting Ukraine. The big statement came as President-elect Donald Trump called for urgent negotiations to bring the nearly 3-year conflict to an end.
Russia continues to gain the upper hand on the battlefield. Moscow's military machine is also moving at an unprecedented pace. Missile production has surged beyond pre-war levels, and Russia now manufactures several times more ammunition than all NATO countries combined. President Vladimir Putin announces the serial production of Russia's hypersonic Oreshnik missiles, touted as unstoppable. Moscow claims these nuclear-capable missiles can fly at 10 times the speed of sound, making interception nearly impossible.
The Russian armed forces are receiving advanced robotic systems, including those using artificial intelligence technologies. We need to fine-tune all issues of mass production and deployment of such strike domestic systems, including hypersonic systems.
As Russia flexes its military might, NATO grows increasingly alarmed. The head of Western military alliance, Mark Rutte, urges member nations to shift to a wartime mindset and accelerate defense production. Rutte warns that NATO's current defense spending lags dangerously behind Russia's escalating capabilities.
We are not ready for what is coming our way in 4 to 5 years. Danger is moving towards us at full speed. We must not look the other way. We must face it. What is happening in Ukraine could happen here too. And regardless of the outcome of this war, we will not be safe in the future unless we are prepared to deal with danger.
Western officials also claim Russia is behind a rising wave of sabotage, hacking, and terror-like attacks across Europe and the US. These actions, they say, are part of a broader strategy to destabilize NATO allies and create chaos. Moscow has repeatedly denied the accusations. Amid the growing tensions, Donald Trump takes a starkly different approach. Calling for a rapid ceasefire, Trump insists Ukraine and Russia must return to the negotiating table. The US president-elect hints that both Kyiv and Moscow will need to make painful compromises to end the bloodshed.
What should Zelensky, if anything, be prepared to give up to end this war?
He should be prepared to make a deal. That's all. Got to be a deal. No, got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's too many people. Got to make a deal. And Putin has to make a deal.
What deal?
Do you think Putin has to make a deal? And Putin would have never gone in if I was president.
As the world watches, the line between preparation and provocation becomes increasingly blurred. The next few months will be critical in determining whether diplomacy can prevail or if the world slides closer to a potential global confrontation. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Mr. Ron Aledo is a former U.S. military officer, former CIA contractor, and former intelligence and operations officer. And at the Pentagon, he's currently the chief executive officer of Miami Intelligence Agency. He's now joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Aledo, welcome to WION. Mr. Belousov, who is the Putin's defense chief, cited a NATO summit in July and military doctrines in the U.S. and other NATO members as evidence that Moscow had to prepare for direct conflict with a more assertive NATO, as he calls it, in the coming decade. What's the implication of this statement by Russia?
Well, basically the implication is that Russia at the strategic level obviously is working on a contingency plan. They are working on a long-term contingency plan that have the possibility or have the real possibility of a conflict, direct conflict with NATO. Now, he was talking about 10 years from now. He was talking about long-term. But obviously, the Russian military has many plans, many contingency plans, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. The immediate term is to finish or end the war in Ukraine with Russia in a good standing. Obviously, they are also ready for a conflict with NATO at the short term, just in case NATO sends troops to Ukraine, to Western Ukraine, like President Macron of France has said many times. But obviously, he was also talking about long term. What happened if after the war in Ukraine, what happened if after this is settled, 5-10 years from now in the future, we see ourselves in a direct conflict with NATO. So he was talking a long-term contingency plan 10 years from now.
Mr. Aledo, the minister cited U.S. plans to modernize its nuclear forces, the opening of a U.S. missile defense base in Poland, new NATO combat readiness plans, and also plans announced at the NATO summit to deploy U.S. medium-range missiles in Germany by the year 2026. If the West is indeed planning all that, what's stopping Russia from reacting?
Well, I think that Russia will not stop at all. And nothing is stopping Russia. Russia is increasing the size of its military to a record level in decades. Russia is increasing its budget, its military budget, to over $145 billion. That's a record level for Russia. And Russia is also modernizing their missile force, their strategic forces, they call it. We just saw a few weeks ago this new intermediate range missile, Hypersonic missile that goes Mach 11 times the sound of speed, the sign of sound, the speed of sound, I'm sorry. And Russia is modernizing its force, is getting a huge number of new recruits, volunteers every month, between 20 and 25,000 per month. So Russia is increasing the size, is increasing its capabilities, modernizes its missile capability. So Russia is getting ready too. So what we see here is an arms race in both sides, and both sides are getting ready for future contingencies. And Russia obviously have a contingency plan, long-term contingency plan. What happens if we go into a direct confrontation with NATO? So both sides are doing the same thing. They're preparing for a confrontation in the future.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I've been talking to Mr. Ron Aledo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Miami Intelligence Agency. Mr. Aledo, thank you for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.